I listed 5 traits here, and I record the traits over 3 generations. These traits are headedness, rolling tongue, single and double eyelid, earlobes, and dimple. I investigated my grandparents on my mother's side and my father's side, my mom's and my dad's, and my own trait. Okay, for the first one, headedness. According to my inquiry, now I can know that all of my grandparents are right-hander. Right-hander, right-hander, right-hander. And my mom is also a right-hander. I'm also a right-hander. However, my dad is a left-hander. Okay, now I can believe that in my family, the right hand is dominant. So the genotype of my dad should be 2 little letter. I use H. And because my dad is a left-hander, so each of my grandparents on my dad's side should provide one recessive allele. So both of them should be a big H with a little h, big H with a little h. And for me, because I'm a right-hander and my mom is a right-hander, but my dad is a left-hander, so my genotype should also be a big H with a small h, or I'm going to be a left-hander. However, in my mom's way, I don't have enough information. I cannot get information from my grandparents' father and mother. So next is my spouse. If my spouse in the future is a left-hander, her genotype is going to be 2A to little h. So my kids, they have big H. So the combination of our genotype, my kids can be whatever right-hander or left-hander. Okay, the next trait is rolling tongue. Okay, now I know that my dad's parents both of them can rolling their tongue. They can. My dad can also roll his tongue. I can also roll my tongue. However, my mom cannot roll her tongue. My mom's also cannot roll her tongue. But my mom's dad can roll his tongue. Okay, so I can't believe that in my family, rolling tongue is dominant. So my mom's mom and my mom's genotype should be 2 little r. I use r for little r. But because my mom cannot roll her tongue, so my mom's dad should provide a recessive allele to her. So my grandfather's genotype should be a big R with a little r. And then because my mom cannot roll her tongue but my dad can roll his tongue, so my genotype should be a big R with a little r. And my dad's genotype should also be a big R with a little r. However, I cannot find my grandparents on my dad's way their genotype. I cannot find their genotype because I don't have enough information. So for my kids, if my spouse can roll her tongue, her genotype can be 2 big R or 1 of each. Whatever whatever any kind of it of them, my kids can be my kids can roll their tongue or cannot. All of those 2 kinds of traits are possible. Before the third one, single and double eyelid. Okay, now I know according to my inquiry, now I know that my mom's parents can are both double eyelid. My mom is also a double eyelid. I'm a double eyelid as well. In my dad's way, my dad is a double eyelid. My dad's mother has double eyelid, but my dad's father has single eyelid. So in my family, double eyelid is dominant. So here, my dad's father's genotype should be 2 little letter. I use D here, 2 little d. And because my dad's father can only produce recessive allele, but he has a dominant trait. So my dad's genotype should be a big D with a small d. Because my dad's genotype is a big letter with a little letter, so my dad's father can only produce a little letter, a recessive allele, so my grandmother can be 2 big D or a big with a little one. Both of them are okay. So for me, I may not get enough information from my mother's side, so I cannot also find out my genotype. But my genotype should be a big D with a small d or 2 big D. So if my spouse is a single eyelid, has a single eyelid, then her genotype should be 2 little d. Then, if my genotype is 2 big D, my kids must to be double eyelid. Or if my genotype is a big D with a little d, then I cannot find out what's my kid's eyelid. Then the next one, earlobe. According to the earlobe, I can know that my mom doesn't have earlobes. And my mom's parents, both of them, don't have earlobes. And in my dad's side, my dad has earlobes. My dad's parents have earlobes, and I also have earlobes. So I can also believe that having an earlobe is dominant in my family. So in my mother's way, all of my grandparents in my mother's ways genotype should be two little letters. I use E here, little e, little e, little e, little e. My mom's also should be a two little e. Now I cannot confirm my dad's genotype, but my mom can only provide a recessive allele to me. But I'm still have earlobes. So my dad, so my earlobe, so my genotype should be a big D, a big E, with a little e. But my dad, because I don't have enough information, I cannot find out that. Okay, for my spouse, if my spouse has earlobes, if she has, then her genotype should be two big E or a big E with a little e. Those two kind of. Then I cannot find out whatever my kids have earlobes or not. Okay, the last one, dimple. Dimple, only my mom has dimple, and all others don't have dimple. So I can believe that do not have a dimple is dominant in my family. So my mom's genotype should be two little letters. I use D here, D, two little d. Because my mother can only produce recessive allele to me, and I have a dominant trait. So my genotype should be a big D with a small d. And because my mom has recessive trait, so my grandparents' gene should be both of them should provide a recessive allele. So both of my grandparents on my mother's side genotype should be a big D with a small d. Or my mom's is not gonna to be a recessive trait. And because I don't have enough information, I cannot find out my dad's mother, my dad's father's genotype. So, what about my kids? If my spouse has a dimple, if she has one, her genotype should be two little d. Then my kid's genotype can be a big D with a little d or two little d. They're not gonna to be two big D. So that's all of my introduction of my family's trait. Thank you.